What's up, YouTube fam? Today we are going to be talking about why you keep attracting emotionally unavailable partners and how to break the pattern. I am Dr. Nina, board certified clinical psychologist, owner of Prestige Psychology Suite, and a relationship expert. If you are tired of emotionally unavailable partners and want to know why it keeps happening, stay tuned. If you want to break the cycle of why you attract emotionally unavailable people, then I'm going to explain it from a psychological perspective. More importantly, if you want to figure out how to stop falling for avoidant partners, stay tuned because I'm going to give a few tips today. So let's hop on in. Let's say you've been here before. You're drawn to someone, they seem exciting at first, but then they end up distant, avoidant, inconsistent. You tell yourself this time's going to be different, but the patterns, they just kind of keep looping. You can keep asking yourself, what the heck? What the heck is going on? So I had a client tell me every relationship starts strong and it crashes. And she wasn't being careless. She was unknowingly chasing the emotional patterns from the past. So that's not chemistry, it's familiarity. So let's get into it. Number one, the unconscious draw to avoidant or inconsistent people. This is one of the reasons. So, like I said, you're not choosing wrong necessarily. You're often unconsciously drawn to what you know. And that's not always healthy, right? Which is where the problem lies. So, sometimes, and I've seen this in many clients that come to me, sometimes even when they stumble on something that's different and new and is more in line with what they actually say they're looking for, which is, not distant, emotionally connected, then like you'll find yourself creating what's familiar. They're starting arguments. They're doing more accusations and they're doing the things that usually happen in those other relationships that they're aware of, or they're the one that's starting to kind of like put up the walls and the guards. And it's your attraction profile. So sometimes even when it's in your face, if you're familiar with something different, sometimes you unconsciously start creating what you know, and then you push that person away that was giving you like that different dynamic. So that can happen. It's very unconsciously done. And you'll find that when you get pulled to those men or women that are just distant, inconsistent, that's the attraction profile that you're familiar with. So where does it come from? It can come from many things, but here's a few things. If you grew up around emotional inconsistency, right? Parents or family or whatever it was just very on and off. Or you had to earn love through achievements and you kind of noticed that. You got more attention when you did good things and more praise and attention, which felt like love. And you got ignored oftentimes just for being the regular you, just the day-to-day person. Then that breeds into what you see today and how you go looking for love again. And then if you came from like chaos or just very unavailable emotionally at home, then that upbringing, if left unchecked and you haven't really worked on it. So like I said, it's an unconscious thing. Even if you felt like it wasn't like a good thing, it's a familiar thing. And so it's what you're used to. So that is one factor. It's not the only, but that is one thing. And so the way that looks is like maybe a partner that's super busy and you're always trying to show them, find a way to get their attention, or you're doing something special to like get their attention that plays back out in itself. Or, sometimes when the booty call kind of situation is kind of similar to that, right? Like you get the attention, guy or girl, and do the booty call, and it's not love, like it's attention. And some people do equate it to like love or connection, emotionally available at that time. So that's that hit and miss though, right? Like that's that inconsistency that was familiar and it kind of just shows up in different ways in relationships. That's just an example of how this can play out. Take a look at other examples of how your past is maybe shaping the way you connect now. All right, so that's more from the past and what you're looking for externally from others. My next point would be your own emotional availability has to do with what you're attracting as well. And that's a hard truth. Don't shoot the messenger. Do not shoot the messenger. I'm just saying, sometimes we're emotionally unavailable. Sometimes you are emotionally unavailable. Maybe in more socially acceptable way, but it could look like overgiving, fixing. You're always the one to initiate, or often these are like signs of hidden fear of true intimacy. On some level, there could be a fear of deep commitment, loyalty, and emotional connection. And this could be related to a slew of things. And I know you're probably like, this is what I'm looking for. So how you gonna say that I'm avoiding it? But on an unconscious level, it could definitely be that. And the way that could look is it could be related to self-esteem issues of deep down feeling undeserving or a fear of gaining that type of connection and then losing it. So kind of like better to have lost. What did I say? Never try, never fail? That. It could be the fear of letting someone in and then it not being fully reciprocated. So that rejection and hurt and pain and not wanting to really have to go through that. You emotionally distance because it feels safer. So all of this is around fear, the different types of fear. And definitely if this was something that wasn't expressed a lot in your younger years, and so you don't really know how that looks or feels, or something major happened, or like a divorce or something like that, and then like you saw a ripping of it. And so there's usually a connection there. That's why it's unconscious, but it's usually related to some level of fear. So just ask yourself, right? This may not hit home, but it may. Am I choosing who can't show up because deep down I'm afraid of what will happen if someone actually does, right? That's a deep question to ask. Do I set boundaries early on to not waste my time when I'm dating? When people clearly showing they don't meet my expectations? Or am I ignoring the red flags for the sake of company and because someone's showing interest? You have to look at like how you're getting there. That's a hard one, but you got to look at yourself. It starts with your own self honesty. So to recap, you're not always choosing wrong. It could be unconsciously drawn to you to what's familiar. That's not always healthy, but that happens. Again, if you grew up around emotional inconsistency or hard to earn love through achievement, chaos, things like that, that could definitely be true. And then that hard truth. Sometimes when we're emotionally unavailable too, then you could be creating that space through your own actions or looking over stuff and attracting the very thing you say you don't want out of some level of fear. Okay, so my third point would be how do you start healing some of those attachment patterns, right? To break the cycle. So, as I said, some of this stuff comes from the way we were raised or what we got or what we didn't, right? But this, regardless of your attachment style, it doesn't mean like you're stuck in that way. Like you can adjust these things as long as you become aware. So let's work on awareness, right? And let's learn your own attachment style. Now, these are old school foundational attachment styles. So I'm going to go a little nerdy and psychology based right now. So bear with me. So the first attachment style is these are the problematic ones. So anxious attachment. This is in a nutshell like you're craving closeness because you fear abandonment. That's what that's going to look like. Avoiding attachment is you value your independence. So you're going to kind of withdraw when relationships feel too emotionally demanding. So that will likely going to push back. And then disorganized attachment is you swing between like wanting connection and fearing it. So it's very confusing. This is the one where you kind of like, what the heck? Especially if you're the one experiencing it on the other side, you're like, what the heck are we doing? It's up and down. And even so that one's kind of a struggle to predict. So what you want to do, regardless of which one it is practice emotional safety with yourself. Start with boundaries, start with regulating your own nervous system, your own internal state of your own self-care and recognizing the red flags early. Do not ignore them just because you're like, oh, I feel good about here. That was a good date. It felt good. Just because if you see the signs and it's like deal breaking signs for you, don't ignore that stuff. Now, and to go even further, here's some practical tips to kind of work on. Here's some practical things. Notice your patterns, right? Once you know your attachment style, if you're not any of those three, you're in a secure attachment style, which is good. That's more balanced, healthy. But notice your attachment style, number one. Then notice your patterns. And these are your relationship and dating patterns. I want you to journal, look back on some of the recent relationships you had from the past where you ignored those red flags and journal the flags and journal like kind of like when you saw them and why you chose to ignore them at that time. 'Cause that's going to help you kind of get to the heart of the root of like where it's coming from for you personally. The next one I would recommend is slow down. Slow down early dating. Like people go so fast these days with dating and it's hard to spot the unavailability, the emotional disconnection when you're kind of in that fantasy mode, you're fantasizing about it, everything feels good. So slow down your early dating. Give yourself time to not just see with like, your hormones, right? But to see it objectively for what it is. And then third is do the inner work. Even that journaling challenge I just gave you is doing some of the inner work. You don't attract what you don't want. You attract what you're prepared for. So if you're wanting emotional connection and availability, you have to make sure that you have risen to that level, you have done the work and you're prepared to fully receive it, that you're also prepared to set the boundaries around it when it's not getting to you so that you make room for it when it's time to come to you. All right. And if this was helpful to you or you know someone that this probably that could benefit from this, subscribe, like, share, comment. If you're ready to stop repeating relationship patterns and start building some real secure relationships, I can help with that. Hit me up, schedule a free 30-minute consultation with me, and I will see you on the next video.